Hello, I'm Pamela Davis. Welcome to episode 191 of the Well Done Life podcast. Hello, and welcome back to episode 191 of the Well Done Life podcast. I'm your host, Pamela Davis. If you are new here, hey, how are you? Welcome. I am so glad that you're here this week. I hope that you stay for a very long time. And if you've been here for a while, you guys know the deal. I love you deep. Thank you so much for continuing to support me on the journey. I couldn't do this without you, and I just really appreciate you. And I want you to stick around, bring a friend, and let's just continue to rock this thing together. Before we get started with this week's episode, I'd like to be really foundational. It's very important to me that we kind of set the tone for what this is. This is a safe space. And in this safe space, or this house that I like to think of it as, we are built on two very important foundations, and that is clarity and love. Clarity is really straightforward. I just like to make sure that you understand that I created the Well Done Life brand because I believe women are the foundation of society. And I don't think we talk enough. I don't think that we have enough spaces where we can be our most authentic self. It's really important to me that we create spaces where we can have honest conversations. I mean, I want to laugh with you. I want to cry with you. I hopefully will inspire you. And I want to learn from you because I think that there's just not enough communication going on. So this is a safe space for us to share all of those things and to truly impart in each other. My hope is that when I share my journey with you, the good, the bad, the ugly of it all, that you are inspired to understand that you can overcome too. Or that you don't have to make the same mistakes that I made because, hey, this thing has been quite a journey, but it hasn't been perfect. And so I hope you realize that by sharing your story, you get the opportunity to encourage someone else. And it just continues this beautiful cycle where we can come together and do beautiful things. So again, welcome. And I am so glad that you're here. And then that leads me into my other foundation. It's actually my favorite foundation. I'm a sucker for love. That's what I like to say about myself. And I believe in love. Love is the thing. So everything that we do in this space is rooted in love. And with that, it is very important for me that every week I share prayers with you. I think especially in times like this, that we have to be able to pray for each other. I really do believe that when two or more people come together, our prayers are magnified. And I know I'm not the only person out here praying for these things. So I am believing that this prayer will go out and touch you and surround you in love and bless you. And so leading into this week's prayer, what I like to do is make sure that I send you prayers of clarity. I've talked about clarity quite often because I find that as you are on this journey of life, it is very important to get clear. It is really easy to be lulled to sleep by some of the things that we are doing and seeing in this world. And so I think it is very important that we always tap into clarity. I know when I'm speaking to God, often I ask God for clarity on certain situations or just in perspective in regards to how my outlook on life and how I'm seeing things, because I want to make sure that I'm seeing it for the trueness of the situation. And clarity is not always easy because everything that's presented to you is not always going to feel good, but it is better that you go through moments of uncomfort versus than seasons and cycles. You have to be able to get clear so that you can understand where you are being led and what you need to do. And so it is constantly something that I am focused on. So especially, like I said, with everything going on in the world right now, I am praying that you have clarity in regards to who you are, clarity in regards to where you stand, clarity in regards to what you need, who you love, all the things. Because if there was ever a time that you need to be clear about what's right and what's wrong and what you need and what you desire and what you love, it is now. And we'll talk more about that in a few moments, but I'm definitely sending you prayers of clarity. And with that clarity, I want you also to have prayers of bravery, because with clarity comes a lot of challenge. It is really hard sometimes to do the things that we are faced. I mean, I would love to say God presents us with all the things that we want to do, but sometimes, myself included, we are presented with the things that scare us. We are presented with things that stretch us. And it's just like we start to question and wonder, like, God, are you really serious? Like, why me? Or one of my favorite lines is, God really has a very strong sense of humor. He just really thinks I must be like Superwoman up in this thing because I feel like this might stretch me to my limits. And again, I'm always flying close to the sun. But again, You have to be brave. You have to be able to lean in. You've got to be willing to step outside of yourself sometimes in order to get to your next level. You have to be, and that next level doesn't always necessarily mean like advancements, but it could be healing. And there are so many different things that involve next levels. And when you are going through that season where you are being pulled, where you are being stretched, fear is constantly there, and it is something that you have to battle. So I want to make sure that you are surrounded in bravery, because I want you to know in courage, you've got this. You can do it. If you lean in, if you trust your strength, if you trust yourself, you will be able to overcome. You will be able to push through. You will be able to glean all the lessons that you are being taught right now so that you can move to your next level. You just have to be brave. You have to trust yourself. You've got to trust God, even when it doesn't make sense. You have to do that. And so I am sending you so many prayers of bravery, because again, in the seasons of life that we are in, we need to have courage. We need to be able to face the things that are ahead of us head on and be able to walk through them, because that's what God would want for us. And that's what we should do. So like I said, definitely sending you clarity, definitely sending you bravery. Of course, I'm always going to want to send you love. I want you surrounded in love. And I'm talking good reciprocal love from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet. I want love that doesn't wait until the 11th hour. I want love that just comes and flows to you. And I want you to be in a space where you can, speak to love honestly about what you're feeling, and speak to love in ways that encourage you and help you grow. And love is push and pull. Is what I'm learning. Love is push and pull, and it is reciprocal and beautiful, but it is definitely push and pull, real love anyway. And that can be romantic love or even relational love in regards to our friends. We can have, I guess, as I like to say, low maintenance friendships, or friendships that don't require a tremendous amount of effort, but we do have to check in with people. We do have to put in efforts. We do have to show concern. We do have to show love. So no matter what's going on, try to dial in where you can. Believe me, I know that is challenging sometimes, because we're pulled in so many different directions in life. But it is something that we all should strive to. It is something I'm striving to. And we can make excuses about our schedules, but we also have to understand that we make time for the things that we want and that we love. Remember that and value that. Don't take love for granted. Don't take people for granted. Make sure that you are giving out the love that you aspire to receive. And then finally, kind of wrapping up my prayer, I want you to have prayers of inquisitiveness. And when I mean prayers of inquisitiveness, I want you to be seeking knowledge in all things. I want you to stay curious. I want you to not be spoon-fed. I want you to constantly seek out ways to improve and to get better and to learn and to grow. And that could be reading books, reading newspapers, listening to podcasts such as this and others. It could be a host of other things. It could be diving into the Word of God. Stay inquisitive, because truth lies in your inquisitions, in your inquisitiveness. By you not being spoon-fed, you constantly stay seeking and understanding and curious. Don't ever lose that side of yourself. That side is magical. That side is healing. That side is thought-provoking. That side keeps you connected. Don't lose sight of who you are. Always stay inquisitive. Always stay curious. Always stay wondering, because that's part of this assignment. That's part of our journey. There are so many things that we have to learn. Always be eager for knowledge. And so those are my prayers for you this week. I hope you can feel the love that I have for you, because I promise you, I love you deep. I am recording on Friday, July the 5th. It is 10:47 p.m. And I'm really glad to be here. And I know I say that quite a bit, but I am. It seems like I have found my words again, and it's nice. I was worried for a bit. I'm still grieving and processing and living my life and trying to do all the things, but it's really nice to kind of sit down and come before you. I want to thank everyone for their support of episode 190, Lemons into Legacy. I hope that you get a chance to check it out. I was kind of like a recap of me trying to find my way back, or finding my way back through a wonderful event that I attended with Women on the Rise, their Women on the Rise Gala. And it really inspired me, seeing other women who are going through so many different things in their life right now. find the strength within themselves to rise. Because it's easy when we're going through grief or loss or just sadness or depression, whatever maybe you may be experiencing, it's very easy to get in our house and sit there and kind of wall ourselves off or get silent with our emotions and lose our words. And so I really struggle with that, as I've explained before. And so now to be back in a space where I have my words back while I'm still processing, I feel really good. It makes me think that all of the healing and journaling and therapy that I have been going through is definitely paying off. So I'm very grateful. But I also do continue to believe that a lot of that comes from your support. And I really do, like I said, want to thank you. This was definitely not the season of my life that I wanted to be in right now, but I'm here and I'm just very grateful to be surrounded by such loving and kind and supportive people. So please know that I'm sending you positive energy back. But like I said, yes, I'm here and this is my second week recording and I definitely have some things on my mind. Obviously, first and foremost, I am preparing for my upcoming event on August the 24th called The Reset. The Reset is a one-day experience that I am hosting for women. It is going to be at the Wave Lake Nona Hotel here in Orlando, Florida, which is a beautiful property. And during this one-day event, what we're going to be doing is covering 4 main pillars. And the 4 pillars are mental health, physical health, financial health, and building community. And the reason that I selected those pillars is because when I was on my face, when I hit rock bottom, I pretty much sucked in all of those areas. Yep, I hit rock bottom in every one of those areas. And over the course of my journey to healing, to growth, to getting myself back together, I had the pleasure of discovering a host of thought leaders, a host of resources that helped me get better, that helped me pull myself back, that helped me realize that as women, we need sometimes an opportunity to reset. And a lot of times when we are struggling in our mental health, that it actually affects us in all levels. Because when I was struggling mentally through my fears and depression, it impacted me physically, definitely impacted me financially, and it also impacted me in regards to being able to build community. And so I wanted to create an event where I provide you with resources. And now those resources are tangible things that you will be able to leverage to help you create actionable change in any one of those core areas in 60 days. But also I wanted to introduce you to a host of thought leaders who are extremely impactful women in all of those areas so that you can build connection and resources that can also help you leverage change. Because if there's one thing that I've learned on this journey to where I am right now is you cannot do this alone. You need people. You need to be able to speak to other people. And sometimes it is hard to speak to the ones that you love. It's not because you don't love them or trust them. It's just sometimes hard because you're embarrassed or there's a whole host of feelings that you're feeling. So I want to connect you with amazing ladies who are able to show you that they have been where you have been in some form of fashion in their life, and they were able to get through it. And they are able to share their knowledge and expertise to be able to help you propel forward, because that's what this event is about. Yes, it is going to be in a beautiful environment. I promise you amazing food, beautiful customized swag, but I also promise you that you will walk out with tangible things that you can leverage to create actionable change in your life in 60 days. See, that was key for me. I'm not going to pretend like when I'm curating this event, and that is like the main thing, because we all go to a ton of events, and I know time is one of the most precious things that we can give someone. So it is very important to me that when I ask someone for their time, that they walk away better. And I am telling you, you will walk away better. And so I really hope that you will get an opportunity to check out this event. The website for tickets and more information on all the speakers, we have amazing speakers in each one of the pillars. And our keynote speaker for the opening mental health session is Yasmin Cheyenne. Yasmin is the author of The Sugar Jar, as well as Wisdom of the Path. She is a thought leader, and she is an amazing individual. And I am so glad to be able to leverage her, as well as we have several other amazing people across all of the pillars. I'm talking doctors. Like I said, I come with the thought leadership, and each of these dynamic women are ready to share with you in ways. There is no gatekeeping. everybody has an opportunity to learn and glean something. So I am definitely, as you can probably hear, very excited about it. And I definitely want you there. So please check out thewelldonereset.com for information. And I will make sure that I put the information in the show notes. But as I was thinking and preparing to get back in and start prepping up for more marketing and gearing up for everything now that we're in July for the event in August, I also had to start thinking about, as we are trying to obviously do a reset in all of those areas, we also have to kind of think about the season that we're in. And yeah, I'm sure that everyone's probably getting beaten over the head with all of the political things. And it has been a long time since I have sat down and had a conversation about political stuff. I'm not going to pretend. The last election wore my behind out. Like literally, it wore me out. It wore me out to the point that I would break down in tears because I was just so triggered by the outcomes and by everything. Like I was just petrified. I mean, we saw people storm the Capitol. I was like, what is going on? And so it just was a lot. And so I have to admit, I kind of dialed out. I couldn't watch the news, but I love to read about it. And so now I've kind of tapped back in because I've had to. This is definitely serious. It's so funny. I was talking to my mom today, as well as one of my good friends. And I was saying, we always hear that every election is like, this is dire. This is make or break. Like we need everybody to get out. And I do think that sometimes a lot of that gets leveraged to try to get people to the polls so that they can vote. But if I were to sit up here and look at the course of where we are right now, I'm not going to pretend. I have to tell you, this is the dire point. Like this is the most critical election that we are ever going to face. And with that, I was like, as we are planning to reset in regards to mental health, physical health, financial health, and building community, I also need us all to take a moment in this reset to talk about our political standing and where we are. Because if we don't get serious, if we don't get clear about what is going on right now, it is going to be hard to worry about resetting in anything because we are literally going to be fighting for our lives. And I know that that sounds extremely dramatic, but I'm not going to pretend we are in dramatic times. We are in dramatic times to the point that I can't watch The Handmaid's Tale. And I don't know if everybody has seen it. The Handmaid's Tale. Handmaid's Tale is a book by Margaret Atwood, as well as the television show on Hulu. I have read all of the books and I used to watch the show quite a bit, but I had to stop because I was like, reality is paralleling this too much. And we are back at this point where it's like ding, ding, ding. We are actually like a hand throw away from The Handmaid's Tale. And I'm like, no. So I wouldn't be doing myself or you or anyone else any justice if I act like the season that we're in doesn't need to be addressed. Because as women especially, we are definitely in the crosshairs. It's really important for us to really get clear about what we are going to do to leverage our power. And when I talk about it, I used to talk about it a lot in the terms of party affiliation. I'm very honest about my party affiliation. I used to be a Democrat, but I am not a Democrat anymore. I'm an independent. I went independent several years back because I just found that at this stage of my life, it is very important to vote my interest and the interest of my people. And I find that the party system is outdated. And if I think about it in the sense, though, with that being the case of the party system being outdated, I feel like that opening has created like this bandwidth where people feel like anybody, lottie-dottie, and anybody can come up and try to come in. That's where I feel like you have the rise of MAGA. And the rise of MAGA really frightens me on so many levels. One, because of the lack of intellect. It's demonstrated in many instances by some of the things that are said, but at the same time, it is by just the sheer rampant belief of everything that is said. So it's kind of a conundrum there. And I'm definitely not trying to throw shade at anyone because your political affiliation is your political affiliation. But I feel like even as an independent, and I'm just going to be clear with that, I do, in the last election, I was still a registered Democrat, but Yes, because I changed maybe like right after that. However, I am at this point voting Democratic. I know I'm voting Democratic. Like there's no ifs, ands, buts about it. And so I kind of want to talk about that because I think that we all have to get clear in the sense that I'm not voting for a person. I'm voting for an administrative group. I'm voting for an administration. I'm voting for democracy because, like it or not, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican or an independent, all of us are in jeopardy. And I think that to me needs to be said a lot because I feel like we're all acting like it's Democrats versus Republicans, and it's not. It is actually Democrats, Republicans, independents, and whoever else party is out there voting to save democracy. Like we all need to really get clear about the fact of what the real issue is. It's not about our candidates. It's about the fact that there is a group of people out here who would like to diminish or democracy within our country. They would like to send us into a season or a series of life where we are living in an autocratic government, where we are living under an authoritarianistic leader, where we have one ruler. Like there is no vocalness out against the government. Like we're in that kind of time. We're in a time where they would like to police women's bodies to the point where we never could unfortunately have abortions. Or if you're a woman, I know part of the Project 2025, which I'll back up and talk about in a moment, is now saying that there will not be no fault divorce if they are able to exercise their plan. Meaning that as a woman, if you are not able to show without cause abuse or some type of threatening behavior, there is no way that you could leave your husband. So I'm just saying things are definitely taking a turn, especially for us. And as women, we carry so much political influence. We are such a strong block. But I also know as women that there are some women who are aligned with conservative viewpoints. And I'm definitely not judging that because I don't think conservatism is what we're talking about here in reference to Project 2025. It's being packaged that way, but we're talking with Project 2025, we're talking about, again, authoritarianism. We're talking about a lens toward fascism. It's just being packaged that way. That's part of the reason why I also feel like the party system is outdated. But again, kind of keeping it really solid and kind of organized in regards to what we're talking about as women, I feel that we have to have more conversations about what's going on because we are going to be severely impacted. And so obviously the first thing that I want to mention is Project 2025, because I think you could sit up in here and debate the candidates to death. I mean, that's fine. It definitely is a concern. But I think we've all learned from civics in high school that the presidency or the executive branch is only one part of the government. It is a big part, but it is not the major part. If we have seen what has been going on within the past few weeks here, we see that the judicial branch, the Supreme Court in particular, has definitely been exercising their power. They have definitely emboldened the office of the presidency, as we've seen recently, which is something to, again, leans into an authoritarianistic government. And so we have to, again, be able to get clear about what we are dealing with. So I'm not going to really delve into the candidates because I think we all know what it is. I think the news is unfortunately doing quite a number to be able to paint doubt. And as Democrats, that's one thing I have to admit I do not agree with that the Democrats are doing. We're doing too much public whining about President Biden. I mean, no offense, everyone knew how old President Biden was when they voted for him the first time. So the fact that he's older now is not a surprise. Donald Trump is also an older gentleman as well. And so again, age is what it is. That's a greater, deeper, darker issue. Yes, should the younger candidates be running? Absolutely. But unfortunately, that is a fault within the parties that they do not groom younger candidates. They go by whoever is the most popular, whoever is able to collect the electoral votes. Because again, as we have all seen before, remember, the popular vote does not necessarily gain us a presidency. It is about gaining the electoral votes. And so we have to make sure that we have candidates in place that can gain the electoral votes. But I digress. And again, I know we've all have had civics and hopefully understand that, but the government is not just the executive branch. We have the legislative branch, we have the judicial branch, and the executive branch. Like there are many branches that make up. So when we are talking about this, we need to talk about it in totality, because what we are facing is something that is trying to really rewrite the course of history moving forward. As the gentleman said, who is the head of the Heritage Foundation, who is the author of Project 2025. And if you've never read Project 2025, it is conservative. I like to call it a conservative manifesto for their plan of a 2025 conservative president transition. And it is, to say detailed and frightening is an understatement. It is over 900 pages. So that shows you the time and attention and the effort. There are 10 years that they have taken to be able to put this together, to be able to have candidates who are able to move, like they are able to remove people in government who do not align to their political ideologies of the president. If a conservative president is voted in, shows you the power of what we are dealing with. And again, it is not about conservatism. That is authoritarianism. That is the beginning of fascism. And so I think, again, we all have to get very clear about it. And like I said, yes, I know that this is a different episode, but as women, again, I think we have to create these spaces where we have real conversation and start educating ourselves on what we're talking about, because ultimately, I think we all need to understand one group doesn't always just come for one group. They come for them in the beginning, but if they come for them, they're going to come for you. They're coming for us all, because in an authoritarianistic regime, it's about aligning everyone. So we all need to be very cognizant of the fact that it's really not about race anymore. It's not about gender. It's about taking control of us all. It's just women, they're trying to rein in faster because we are a political nexus. We are powerful. We are resources. We are wealth. We are givers and bringers of life. We are the foundation of society. And if this doesn't prove to you that point now, nothing ever will. So always remember that and stand in your power. But kind of back to what we were discussing, Project 2025 is a conservative transition plan that the Heritage Foundation has put together that they have been working on for the past 10 years in regards to their manifesto of how they plan on shifting the structure of government to create a second American Revolution, as the president of the Heritage Foundation mentioned recently, and that they are planning on making it so that there will always be a conservative in the White House and having every structure of government aligned with it. They're essentially going to gut the government in order to create their perfect side of government. And that perfect side of government, like I said, includes a federal ban on abortion. That also includes the removal of all DEI programs. Mass deportations. I mean, there are so many aspects of it, and it is something that definitely needs to be read. I'm going to leave a link in the show notes so that you can check it out. But again, I wanted to have this conversation and kind of start you thinking about it, because you should read it so that you understand what you are dealing with. And we have to recognize that this group is very patient. I mean, for them to be working on this for 10 years and now all of a sudden it's coming out because they are seizing the moment. They see their time and they're very emboldened about it. There was a recent quote from the president of the Heritage Foundation, again, referencing that this is the second American Revolution and how, if the left will allow it, it will remain bloodless. But if the left will allow it. So that is a very veiled threat, in my opinion, that there potentially could be violence. There also have been threats. I've seen him on MSNBC and CNN, because he's been making the rounds, that they will contest the results of the election. And so it is very important to me, if we are not careful, we have to send a decisive message that we are going to be voting Democratic. Because to me, I think that it is more than just the presidency. To me, if we are really looking at what we are facing an opportunity in history where our civil rights are in jeopardy, our democratic rights, our civil liberties are in jeopardy. And this plan will not happen overnight, but a lot has already begun and been working behind the scenes while we are distracted between all of this fodder with the candidates. And that will be in place that will impact us. But we are talking about long game strategies, abolishing the Department of Education. I mean, there are so many different things. They are trying to, again, create a society of authoritarian rule. And so we really need to recognize that, again, authoritarian rule will put us in a situation where it's not just about a party. It no longer becomes about race. It becomes about the fact that we have all in some way had our democracy diminished. And we are now under the rule of a dictator. And that makes us all the things that our ancestors died for and fought for are all looking to be overstricken and creating this new cycle of life. And that is not something that any of us are ready for. We're not. And so we have to come together. And that's why I wanted to create this kind of like clarion call. I guess if I had a siren, I would say it like, this is that time. Like we need to activate. We need to get very clear. We need to research our candidates. We need to research how we are moving forward. We need to really have a strong showing, and we need to decisively win the election to Democratic side. And I know that part of that right now is, many people have a lot of thoughts and perspectives in regards to President Biden. And like I said, we all knew he was old. He was old when he got elected. He's older now. It's just, that's the nature course of life. Do I feel that other candidates should be groomed for it? Absolutely. Do I feel like another candidate should possibly take over for President Biden? I don't know. I'm kind of lopsided about that because I wonder if someone else comes in, I think we have to all ask ourselves, are we going to rally behind them? And from what I see, Democrats always have a tendency to complain. We have a tendency to undermine each other. Whereas if I look at the Republicans, they unite. Like they are united behind Donald Trump. Like you have a few who are speaking out, thank God. But they are like lock, stop, and barrel because they want to show unity. And so if I were to say anything, if we're going to do this, we all got to get behind it. Because again, it's bigger than Biden. As a friend of mine likes to say, it's bigger than Nino Brown. And if you don't know who Nino Brown is, that's New Jack City, big time drug dealer. But anywho, it is. It's like it's bigger than Nino Brown. Like this is real deal Holyfield stuff. Like we're in trouble. We're in trouble, girl. We are in trouble. And so we really need to understand that we all have to unite. And that's the hard part. And that's one of the reasons why I want to start having conversations about this. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to probably talk about this every episode because I don't know if my soul can take it. But I'll be honest, if the block gets hot enough, I will talk about it because it is so important to me to use our voices, to use our resources to help educate each other while we have a chance to be able to make sure that we are making the best decision, not just for these next 4 years, but for the next 4 years after that we are setting ourselves up for success. It's time we start demanding what we want. And our democracy is something, it's not perfect, but it is so beautiful and so worth it. And why would we allow it to be diminished by a group of radicals who are looking to take us back 50 years in a matter of 4 years? So we all need to be very clear about what we're facing. And so, yes, I definitely am going to have more conversations, but I think then that comes, like I said, just us coming together as women and having these conversations. So I'm hopeful that this podcast will inspire you to talk to your friends because we need to have these conversations. I was surprised. I've had this conversation with a variety of people and all of us are frightened and don't know what to do. I know for myself, I'm like, I'm Black. I actually told someone like, I'm Black and a woman. Like, that's a lot. I'm reading this manifesto, and that's what I call it. I can't even call it a transition plan anymore. It's like a manifesto. And I'm afraid. I'm literally afraid of what they could do. And I don't want to hear anyone talk about, oh, I'm not going to vote because I don't support either candidate. That's my way of trying to address a deal with it. That is a cop out. We need every vote possible. I don't give a crap. You need to get out there and vote Democratic. You need to vote for your democracy, because that's what casting a vote is about. Do you want to have democracy? Do you want your freedoms? Because if you want your freedoms, you need to get out here and act like you want them. Like, there's no more in between. That's why I was like, you have to stand now. You have to get really clear about what you believe, who you support, and what you need, because if not, it's going to count against us. And in the long game, we can't afford that to happen, because also one of the things that we have to remember is that one of the reasons why this presidency is such a major pivotal time for us, this election, is also this next president has the opportunity to possibly seat up to 3 potentially Supreme Court justices, because the justices are getting old. Justice Sonia Sotomayor, I believe also Justice Kagan, I think Justice Clarence Thomas. All of them are at a point where they may be looking to step away due to illness or what have you. So we need to make sure that we have the right president in place to be able to help us. The court is making some major moves. We need to shift the balance of power in order for us to be able to survive. Because yes, it is that deep, y'all. It is about survival. And so we need to make sure that we are really focused on what we're facing. I'm also going to put some information in here in reference to, I believe it's Agenda 47. I heard about it this evening, and I read about it as well on the Trump website, where he was talking about mass deportations and everything if he got elected. Like, some of it sounds crazy. I just can't even pretend and say it's not, but some of it sounds frightening. And I don't care how much Trump tries to backpedal away from Project 2025. The Project 2025 folks are claiming him like he is their cousin, so he cannot get away from it. And so don't be fooled. Don't be lulled into believing that these people are not a threat. They are a threat. They are organized. That manifesto has a list of people that they have been working with. Like, this is not something that is just like 2 people in a basement trying to figure this out. Like, no, this is something that has been thought of, planned, and executed methodically. And if you are that patient to be working on that over 10 years, you are ready for this time. We have to be ready for this time. We have to be ready for this moment. So it is very important that we have courage, that we face the truth, that we are very clear, that we are educating ourselves. Don't get spoon-fed. Put your knowledge and power, especially as women, because our rights are on the line. Our bodies are on the line. Our lives are on the line. All of us. And we have to think about ourselves as well as the future that is behind us. So we have to do what's right. So again, I'm not trying to scare you, but I definitely kind of wanted to, like I said, kind of start talking about it, start to put things in the ether. I'm definitely going to be trying to reach out to guests as well. I'm thinking about some political advocates, maybe from the local areas, because like I said, I'm here in Orlando. And I do think, guys, like, that is serious as well. I mean, of course, you definitely need to make sure that you're voting for the presidency, but you need to be going down the entire ballot. You need to make sure that you are taking a good look at your local races. Like, you can no longer afford to sit on the sidelines, because any vote away from democracy is a vote toward authoritarianism. And I'm sorry, I'm not calling it conservatism, because it's not conservative. It is authoritarianistic. And again, it's not necessarily about a party. It's about an attack on democracy. And we cannot get caught up in fights between the parties and not paying attention to the long game goal. So I really want us to pay attention to the long game, because it's time to play the long game. And as women, we are constantly saving people. We are constantly coming in and cleaning up the mess. And this is a pretty big mess. And it may be an opportunity where we may not be able to save folks. We may not be able to clean it up. So we have to all get serious. We have to all get in the game. We all have to figure out what we are trying to align ourselves with, what we want our future to look like. Yes, it is that deep. So I hope that you will check out the resources, the information that I'm going to link in the show notes, because again, I just want you to be educated. If there's anything that I've missed, please don't hesitate to let me know. Like I said, this won't be my first time and last time talking about this. I'm going to talk about it as much as I humanly can between now and our election, because it's imperative. But I'm also going to be making sure that I'm sharing information in regards to making sure everybody is registered to vote and trying to answer any questions. So if you do have any questions about any of the processes, please make sure that you leave them in the show notes. At the same time, with everything that we are facing, everything that we are hearing constantly in media, as well as on social media, I know this probably sounds like the antithesis because it's such a crazy time, but I have to say this as well. Please make sure that you are gentle with yourself. Please make sure that you take breaks. Please make sure that you don't constantly feed yourself this information, because it will weigh on you. And like I said, I did that, and it just truly affected me emotionally and filled me with fear. Of course, you need to be alert. Of course, you need to wake up. Of course, you need to focus. But at the same time, you need to be able to step away from this sometimes and be gentle. Give yourself other things to process, live life, and focus. But at the same time, when you have an opportunity to serve. And I'm going to leverage that as well. I'm not just speaking to you, I'm speaking to myself too, because we have to be serious about this. We are the foundation of society, and we have to take that role and responsibility very seriously right now. And so, yes, I know it can be weighty, and it is not our job to save everyone, but we need to come together to save everyone. I know that sounds crazy, but it's so true. It is that dire. It is that serious. So I definitely, though, want to make sure I remind you to please take breaks and be gentle with yourself. I'm going to be, like I said, back talking more about other things as well as this, and trying to make sure that I am doing things to actively help get people to the polls, get people out there and support. We all need to have all hands on deck this year, because this is a real deal thing. Every year is real deal, but this is real deal. Like I said, I think we're like a hand stitch away from the Handmaid's Tale, and I ain't trying to do that. I don't want that for any of us. For me, it's never going to be about party. It's always going to be about making sure that we all have an opportunity to be free. Let us not act like our rights are not in jeopardy. Let us not be so blinded to understand where we are. And as great laureate Voltaire said, I may not agree with what you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it. So please let us not give up our democracy so easily, because we fought too hard to get it. So that is my episode this week. I want to thank you for listening. I want to thank you for supporting. Please make sure that you listen, like, share, subscribe. I will have all of my information as well as links to all the things that I discussed in the show notes. And I look forward to talking to you guys next week. Take care of yourselves and each other, and we'll talk again soon. Bye-bye.